I'm sure a lot of Jet fans miss him. Always opinionated, always fun to talk to. He's Rex Ryan, and he joins us here on the Michael Kay Show. It's Don LaGreca and Alan Hahn. How are you, sir?
I'm doing outstanding. How are you guys?
Good. I'm sure you felt a little something today, right? I mean, you wake up, you hear that Darrelle Revis is calling it a career. I mean, how can you not have thoughts on maybe one of, if not the best players you ever coached?
Yeah, he's certainly up there. You know, I've been fortunate. I mean, I've coached a lot of great ones, you know, with Ray Lewis and Dion and guys like that. But Darrelle, to me, when we went to the Jets, and when you look around, clearly he was our best player. It wasn't even close. But he allowed us to do so many things that, defensively, that gave us a chance to be incredibly competitive, I think. And that was, I could always take away the other team's best receiver with one guy. Never needed to double him. Could always just put one guy on him. And that's exactly what we did. So, yeah, those were my thoughts. Initially, when I got the call this morning, it was from Manish Mehta, and I was like, oh, God, of all people I'm hearing from. But it was pretty funny. And but when you do think about it, what a great player. I wish he would have been a Jet his whole career. But the way the game is now, you don't see that a whole lot. But, man, were we fortunate to have him when we did.
When you say that, it's funny, you saying that if he stayed a Jet his whole career, and I do think it impacts the way some fans are remembering him, at least the ones we've talked to so far this morning. But, it's so far removed from his first time around with the Jets and just how good he was in those years, 09 through 11, just how dominant he was, especially the 09 year. As you being there front and center, knowing how you can use him, how he made you better, do you have a moment? Everybody seems to have a moment about great players that they say, oh, I'll never forget this one. What would yours be? Like, when you think of him, what moment do you think of?
Man, I tell you what, there's no, that's a great question, but there's no, just set moment. But, I knew I had the best player on the field, and always. But the thing that got me is just watching this guy practice every day, how competitive he was. That was the thing that jumped out at me. And the other thing that jumped out at me is no matter what the situation, he never once complained, never, we gave him the tough down 100% of the time. And he never bitched, not one time. And never said, well, hey, how about giving me a little help here? Not one time did he ever do that. And he never needed to because his confidence was so high. He was so physical and competitive. That's the thing that jumped out at me. And regardless of who we're playing Hall of Fame receivers, it never mattered. We just match them up. And that was something that, we went from, when I took that team over, I think it was 22nd in the league in defense. Immediately went to number one, and it was because of Darrelle Revis. We had a lot of good players, but let me tell you, it was because of Darrelle. And whether we were going to play zone coverage, whatever it was, I would roll my coverage to the second best receiver, not the best receiver. I just left Darrelle by himself.
Yep.
So that was what was so special about him. And hey, look, I get it that, I know he had the contract issues. He had all that type of stuff. And believe me, at the time, and to this day, I still think that it wasn't right. I mean, when you sign a contract, you ought to, stand by it. But now, was he better than that contract? Of course he was. He was way better than that contract. So I certainly get what he was doing, but I didn't really understand it at the time. But to me, the Jet fans ought to applaud him. If it was like baseball and he was going to go in with a certain decal on his helmet, it would certainly be a Jet decal, and that shouldn't be taken away from him.
When you describe him as so competitive, I wonder what he was like the week leading up to a game against, whether it was, like you mentioned, the top receivers, any of the Johnsons you can name in that era, or how about Tom Brady? I mean, was he different? Because the great ones are generally different when you're going into games against, when he knows this is a big-time matchup.
Well, the thing about Darrelle is every week we gave him, like I said, we gave him the toughest guy 100% of the time. So he knew he was going against a good receiver, whether it was Steve Smith, whether it was one of the Johnsons, whoever it was, it never mattered. He knew he was going to draw the tough down, the toughest player, and all that, and he had no problem with it. So, hey, fellas, I'm on the golf course. Let me drive this ball first, and so 1 second, you'll hear I'm telling you I hit it good.
I love no pressure. Let's see.
Let's see if we...
I got to get it. All right, everybody get ready. I know what you're thinking, that there's no way in hell he's going to hit a good ball, and you're probably right. But anything going this far, I'd have a stewardess on it.
Should we whisper right now?
Oh, baby.
Oh, wow. That was quick.
Yeah.
That was good?
You felt good?
I'm back with you.
That felt good.
I just hit the hell out of it, touchdown.
Well,
I think I needed a pilot. It was a little off.
We'll take your word. Was it straight, though, or was was it
as far
Slice
as
Airlines?
No, it went right down the middle. As far as you guys know.
You know, we indulged you with that. Indulge us with this, because we're going to go back in the time machine, Rex, to January 13th, 2010. This is after the 2009 season. And just listen to you, because this is Rex Ryan and his most entertaining. Listen to this.
I would like to congratulate the people that voted for Darrelle Revis. That these guys obviously really know the game. And it's, you got to look at all the numbers. Not just a number about this or a number about, this stat or that stat. I mean, a number that I think is interesting would be 8. And no, that's not the amount of touchdown passes that Green Bay gave up against Arizona. That is the number of touchdown passes we gave up all season as the Jets. And the biggest reason for that is Darrelle Revis.
Now, Rex, thinking back to that time, you were just talking about the holdouts. Did you ever think that was held against you? That was used in those contract negotiations?
Oh, yeah, no question. Feinsod and Schwartz, that's what they do. Those jerks. But, it's funny. They were outstanding agents. But, I think so a little bit. But, I mean, come on, the tape doesn't lie. Obviously everybody knew he was the best in the league and it wasn't even close. So, but I do think, they realized how good he was.
When you talk about Deion Sanders, you talk about Darrell Green, there's some great corners. Where does he rank? Could you consider him the best cover corner there ever was in the NFL?
Well, I think the big thing is, when you look at it, you got to think, in my opinion, it's Deion Sanders. And based on he had the longevity as well. I think if Darrell would have played a little longer without getting hurt, I think for sure he would be right in that conversation without question.
Well, all right, what are you doing, Rex? Are you going to coach again or what? Give us the scoop.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm enjoying doing what I'm doing right now, but I really do miss coaching. And it's people ask me if, you're going to coach or whatever. No, I'm not the one deciding that. Somebody else has decided it. And believe me, I did not get a whole lot of phone calls last year regarding coaching. So I don't know. It's something that I really, really enjoy and I miss. Quite honestly, I miss it probably every day. But with that being said, I love the team that I'm with right now. With ESPN. So we'll see, but you never say never.
Well, if you're driving where they need flight attendants on the ball, are you going to be on the PGA or what?
No, I tell you what, my game is so awful, guys, that it's, and the more I play, the worse I get. So, I'm horrendous, but I'm even going to be worse, I think, in these next couple of years. But I do enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. And miss you guys, talking every Monday and everything else, with Michael Kay and all that. Speaking of Michael Kay, I got some stuff for him. If, the Yankees now, I'm thinking like a move that I think would be under the radar for the Yankees is, look, and he hadn't had a great year right now, but Lance Lynn. Let's pick up Lance Lynn. He looks like a dang New York Yankee pitcher, big, huge guy. And last 2 months of the season, the guys pitched really well. So I think we can get a steal there. And my dream job, guys, you talk about coming back into coaching. I want to be the assistant bench coach. Not the bench coach, but the assistant bench coach in baseball.
Okay.
I imagine you'd be thrown out every first inning.
And you know what?
I can't imagine you'd be able to stay calm and not get. You'd be chirping umpires from the first pitch.
And hey, you always had an attention to detail. I think you should join the Mets. You could help Mickey Callaway out.
I tell you, literally though, honest to goodness, though, when you do mention it, but I got the baseball lingo. I'd be like, "Come on, big home, baby, you best out there, kid. I got it."
It would be tremendous.
Come on now.
It would be tremendous.
Let's go, Aaron. Let's go. I want to be the hitting coach. All right, Aaron, let's go.
Rex, thanks, man. Go back to the golf and enjoy your summer.
All right, fellas. Always great talking to you guys.